Hello, good morning. Just a little funny tale. Just walked past an older gentleman, and given that we were raised properly, we were raised in the mid-70s in Jamaica, where it was a criminal offense to not greet each adult you walk past, morning, afternoon or evening. You said good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And if you didn't, if you walk past an adult who knew your family, chances are they would go and tell them that you walked past and you didn't say hello. And you might find yourself getting beaten. But you know, in this day and age, when we say spanking or whatever, people think in terms of child abuse. But anyway, we knew the rules. So I just walked past this older gentleman and I bid him good morning, and he was wearing a mask. He turned around and looked this way and that way. He didn't answer. He seemed shocked. So I wondered to myself, is it so shocking to say good morning to a stranger? I always greet strangers, especially older ones. I always say good morning, good afternoon, good evening whenever I'm walking and I come in contact with people. But that's my little story for the day. Right, so I will begin. I'm off again to the market. Gosh, it's quite cold. I'm trying to catch my breath, would you believe it? Right, so I will begin. Hopefully the last video I did, it was so noisy, the traffic, but you would have had to strain to listen to it, but this is the best that I can do under the circumstances. Good morning. See, I just said good morning to another gentleman and he responded. He's African. Maybe upbringing, I don't know. Right, so today I would like to discuss people of, if you like, people of supposed faith, people who believe in God, Christians, etc. So I will begin by talking about someone who I admire a lot based on the contents of what comes out of his mouth, rather than that. I don't admire people just because, you know, for the sake of admiring them because they're popular or whatever. I admire people based on what comes out of their mouth and how they conduct themselves. So this person, Peter Hitchens, is a Christian. And what was my surprise, because he's been one of the biggest voices out there as regards coronavirus and lockdown. So he's very much against it, or was. And what was my surprise, yesterday morning, afternoon, I came across a video posted by Alex Belfield, the voice of reason, in which he mentions, well, I saw the article, I didn't read all of it, I skimmed through it, and it was an article where Peter Hitchens confesses that he took the vaccine. And he took the vaccine on the grounds of he's got family in other parts of the world. And it's the same with Alex Belfield. He wants to travel. And I've said in previous videos that I know people personally who would consider taking the vaccine if it means being able to go on holiday or to keep, if you like, go to weddings or funerals or whatever abroad. So I don't get disappointed with people. People have free will, so they're entitled to do whatever they choose to do. In the description, I will put up a quote that was said, something that was said by Brigham Young back in the, I would say, 1850s to 1870s, when he was leader of the Mormon Church, where he warns people against taking things on board that are said by their leader without questioning whether those leaders are in fact being led by God. Now, we are being asked. I saw the Queen has come out and said we shouldn't be selfish. We should take the vaccine for the sake of other people. And I've said many times, I don't need anyone to wear a mask on my account. I don't as well need anyone to take the vaccine on my account. Do unto others as you would have done unto you. Therefore, I am not going to wear a mask on behalf of anyone else, and I am not going to take the vaccine on behalf of anyone else. Right, so it's that simple. So anyway, that's a choice that he made, Peter Hitchens, for family. And I think I'm just using him as the example. But as a Christian, you are supposed to be willing to suffer all things. That is the deal. And if it's something as simple as you're going to cave in because you need to see your family, I have pretty much discarded my family and various friends as a consequence of us not being on the same level, or if you like, on the same path. One thing I don't do, I do not compromise myself in order to appease others. In order for me to do the right thing, I will kick others into touch, but I will not, under any circumstances, compromise. Or, well, I've said before, I don't do compromise. You only need to do compromise when you need people, right? And I've carved out my life in such a way that I don't need people. So whereas people are saying how difficult lockdown was for them, lockdown hasn't been difficult for me, not mentally, physically, spiritually, because I am the type, I adapt. The only thing that I didn't factor into the equation is my sister's illness, which she got ill in April of last year, a month after we commenced lockdown. That I didn't factor in. And so, as a consequence of me moving in with her to take care of her until such a time as she recovers, I didn't expect her to still be in the situation that she is in now. But it's interesting. It is very interesting to see where it's going. So, things that I have no control of are things that require, things that involve other human beings. So, as a rule, I do not ever live my life in such a way as to please others. I live my life in such a way, and in fact, even when I would say I live my life in such a way as to please God, I don't necessarily, because sometimes I argue with him a lot, especially with this situation with my sister. And I said it to her yesterday that because people have said, oh, God will help you and all of that. So I laid it out for her properly, and I said, you're only going to get better if you put your mind to it. And God is not going to help you to get better unless you put the effort in. And people would say, oh, you shouldn't say that, you should be having compassion. That is compassion. What you do, you tell people the truth, and whether or not they can handle it, because look, it's my time. For as long as it takes her to get better, I'm stuck there with her. And what I say here, what I'm saying right now, I've said to her, I asked her, how long do you think that I'm going to be here? And I said, at such a time when God has determined that I've put in enough effort, He will get me out of here, because it's not fair that having put so much thought into my own life, I should then end up losing it in order to look after someone else. And people would say that's what families do. Well, go and talk to the rest of our family and see. I'll ask them how much effort they've put in towards helping her, if your opinion is that that is what families do. Okay, so I'll go back to what I was saying as regards Peter Hitchens. I use him as the example, but I'm not bashing him, I'm just using him as an example of someone who is very vocal, or was, and seems to have strong belief, is principled, but buckled, took the vaccine, whether he agreed with it or not, buckled and took the vaccine as a means to being able to carry on with family. And as I've said, I don't care who anybody is, mother, father, brother, sister, whatever the relationship. If you're going to compromise my ability to walk in the correct path, I'm kicking you into touch. I believe people say to me, oh, you should give people a chance. Of course I give people a chance, but just not on my time. People can be whatever they want to be, can hold whatever opinions they hold, but not on my time. You would argue that that's selfish. I don't think so. Selfish is when you involve yourself. I was saying this to someone the other night. Like, for example, selfish is when you go and have children that you are ill-equipped to look after. That's selfish. Some people have actually said to me that I'm selfish because I don't have children. And others have suggested also that I've said this before, I think, I mentioned in the book even, that I should take my chances with someone. I had a dream last night in which I was abducted. In fact, I had two dreams last night. In the first one I was abducted, and in the second one someone sent some poisonous insects, poisonous creepy crawlies after me, which I crushed to death with my hand. Right? So those were my dreams. It's so nice when you wake up and you find that they were only dreams. So I'm sort of jumping here, there and everywhere. But I want to go back to, well, if you like, if it's sticking to your end of the bargain. As a believer, I will say believer, because not all identify as Christians. So I say believer. Now, as a believer, at the time of lockdown, well, as I've said before, I've kicked a lot of people into touch since all the madness of you go wear a mask and all of that, the COVID idiots. But from a year ago, last March, when people were asking me, because I don't keep food in the house, I have funny eating patterns, so I tend to buy what I need at that time. I don't stockpile food, because chances are I won't eat it. So, under any circumstances. So, I was being asked, what are you going to do? This is when people this is when people are going crazy for toilet paper and hand gel, and then I don't know what woke them up to the fact that food is more important than toilet paper. But then they started going crazy and were clearing the shelves in the supermarket. So people were asking me, what are you going to do? And a lot of the times when people ask me what am I going to do, it is like they would like to see me get my comeuppance, right? So I said, well, if I'm unable to get food from the supermarket, I'll just eat chips. And the chips is what I ate because the chip shop was still open. And I just lived on chips until people got over the madness of clearing out the supermarkets. Similarly, when I say I've not abided by any of the rules, people would try to tell me we're coming into a year now, into a year later, oh, but the police are stopping people. I've said before, whenever I meet, because I'm that a person with my sparkly personality, whenever I meet people in authority, I take control of the situation. Hello, good morning, how are you? And we have conversation, right? And that's what I do. I do not walk around in fear. And as regards the vaccine, never mind the corona or COVID jab, never mind that. It has always been my policy that I would not ever travel to a country for holidays where I would need to have a vaccination. And as well, I don't need to travel. I'm not the holidaying type. I'm quite content staying at home. And when I say at home, I mean literally locked up in the house. I'm okay with that. I don't have a problem with it. So, and here is the science part. Now, I preach, it's in the book, in order to be a disciple, you need to have discipline. So, in order for Christians, believers, to stay committed to the cause or to uphold their end of the contract, if you don't have discipline, if you're not assertive, if you are concerned about pleasing your family, because in pleasing your family, they're not actually pleasing you. If you're bending over for them, that means they're not bending over for you, right? So that's something to think about. Now, because of the way I've worked to develop myself, be ye therefore perfect, personal development, blah blah blah, there is nothing that anyone can say to me. I don't have feelings and emotions that people can manipulate, right? So there is nothing that anyone can say or do that would make me change my opinion on something or go along with something just to, if you like Peter Hitchens, he's got family. My family or friends require me, I tell them you need to take the vaccine or else I wouldn't have anything more to do with them. I tell them all to sod off. You do not put pressure on people to join in against their principles, right? So I found out quite fascinating that he caved in, and he had an explanation as to why he caved in. Not good enough, mate. As it says in the Bible, what will a man give in exchange for his soul, though he gain the whole world? Though he gains the whole world. I can only ever speak by way of experience. And my experience, based on the way I live my life, is that, good morning, things work out for me in the end. As I've said, I would be bouncing along perfectly, but for the fact that my sister requires somebody to look after her. And if you like being generous, good morning, I am the one in a position to do it, who has been doing it, and who has been doing it single-handedly up until the point my mother started sending food. And because I know how God works, He's not going to keep me in the situation forever. So as I've said to my sister, it's up to her to decide when she wants to get better, because I'm not going to be there forever. And people would think, oh, but you're going to abandon her. No, I'm not going to abandon her. I'm going to do the right thing as it becomes apparent to me. I will do the right thing for my life. Because there are people who say, oh, there's pleasure in service. Good luck to them. I see service for what it is. I don't get that. I know people who love to serve because it makes them feel good. I feel good anyway. I don't need to serve people in order to feel good. But those are my thoughts anyway. It's very interesting to see people who have strong beliefs, strong principle caving just because they need to see their family, or for whatever other reasons they have. There are no reasons on earth, no person on earth will prevent me, or who would make me consider even straying from the path that I am walking through life. So, you know, if you're doing the right thing, if you're living the way that you should live, you should not. I mean, especially Christians. I know some don't read the Bible, and if they have read it, they don't understand it, but they really should go and read the Gospels. The whole point of Jesus, he lived his life in such a way to show people how they should live their lives. And he says his family are those who do his will. So by sticking out your arm and taking a vaccine in order to appease your family, to be able to see your family, whoever's doing that and thinking it's a godly thing to do should perhaps reassess. I have now reached my destination, so I shall end the video here. Have a lovely day. Take care. Bye-bye.